Sensibly. Data Today with Eamon Keane on WLR.
Brought to you by the Southeast House and Home Show. September 29th and 30th at WIT Arena.
You are welcome back to the programme. It's Maria in for Eamon Keane today. And you know when you go to the airport and maybe if you've been flying and you come back off the flight and you end up with the cold or you don't feel bad and you blame it all on the plane because you've been in this confined environment with everyone coughing and sneezing and that's how you got the bug that you have now. Well, maybe that is just not the case. Maybe airports are just manky places all over. Eoghan Corry is with travelextra.ie. He's a travel expert and journalist and he's on the line now. Eoghan, you're very welcome to the programme.
Always a pleasure.
Now, it seems really all of the blame is being laid on those plastic security trays, which now that I think of it, everybody just uses one after the other.
Oh yeah, you can think the numbers of people going through the airport in Dublin Airport on quite a few days this year would have put 100,000 people, up to 110,000 people through the airport in a single day. A lot of security trays interchanging just on this cycle, everybody picking them up, putting their own goods into it. I mean that's a lot more complicated than it would have been, well, it's a long time ago now, but around 2000, 2001, they started demanding taking your shoes off and putting them in. So you can imagine it harbours bacteria, viruses, everything that's going on in people's lives is going to end up in those trays. And as a result, I think the health risk, maybe understated a bit. I'm not sure if the Daily Mail report today overstates it a little bit, but certainly where you've got large numbers of people gathered together, interchanging all their bodily fluids and all their goods and all of that at that level, the danger of infection rises exponentially.
And when they always use a toilet seat, the poor toilet seat is never as dirty as anything that they're talking about, which would suggest the toilet seats are actually clean because they're not like your computer keyboard. The toilet is worse than a toilet seat.
Everything is measured. I don't know which particular toilet seat they use, but I could nominate a few that might, sort of stand as the standard for an infection worldwide. But this comes from an article in an online medical journal which based out of Hong Kong. It's an open access one. I do think that when when people start talking about if the medical people would always say the risk of infection is raised by the level of handling that a tray at an airport gets. But the magic word toilet seat, we're journalists, we know how it works. The magic word toilet seat is what gets people to stand and sit up upright on their toilet seat.
You think, though, they'd have to provide some sort of hand sanitizer or something at the end, and then if you don't use it, it's up to you. But they don't seem to have anything in place. Will that have to change, do you reckon?
Yeah, I spend my life in airports, and the sanitation is pretty. They put an awful lot of money and effort and all of this into their security systems. They pay huge money for high-tech scanners. Hand sanitizer doesn't cost as much. Very few airports have hand sanitizers in place. If you have allergies, if you're prone to a small infection causing a lot of problems on your hands.
So your line's going a bit dodgy on me, Eoghan. You just move a little bit?
Yeah, absolutely. I'll move a little bit.
Yeah.
But if you're vulnerable and if all your problems...
No, we're kind of losing you, Eoghan. We're not... That line isn't really very good.
Okay.
There you're back. You're back.
Yeah. Okay. Are we there?
Yeah.
Yes. If you're vulnerable and if a small infection causes a lot of problems, this is a serious issue for you. The real key thing is hand sanitizers before the security point. That's where you're going to disperse bacteria, and then immediately after if you're picking up from somebody else. But before, more important than after, I see a few of them in airports around the world, but very, very, very few. And I think a serious point out of this is that you've got these airports have lots of money for high-tech security. Why don't we start thinking of hand sanitizers and spreading infection? Most of us are robust enough; we're able to pick up a few bacteria without getting without it making an impact on our lives. But there is a sizable part of the population for which it could have serious consequences, and airports really should look at this.
Yeah, because, I mean, it's in one side of it, I'm thinking the reason that we're all so susceptible to, and all the kids have allergies and everything, is because we're too clean. We don't allow any germs at all, but yet when there's vulnerable people around, you have to be aware of that.
You've met my Auntie May. Women of a certain age and men of a certain age will say when they were out playing in the bears, running in our bare feet and playing in the mud, nobody got sick. But the reality is that bacteria evolve, they can build up immunity to the different situations that children grow up in, leaves them with more exposed to some type of bacteria, less to others. It's a very complicated business, but what is not complicated, what's the very clear pattern, is the number of people who are travelling around the world. What would be a local problem in India a few years ago, suddenly becomes a major one. We saw that with swine fever, with swine flu, and we saw that with the H1N1 virus, which I was actually in Mexico when that broke out. So when you're dealing with airports, the health considerations, which are way down the list of priorities, they should be elevated a bit, and people should call in the medical experts and say, what should we be doing to make people healthier when they travel? And as you pointed out in your intro, a lot of emphasis was done on air. The recycling of air in aircraft is getting better, but it was very, very poor for many years. We remember seeing people wearing face masks in case they pick up something out of the environment. And the reality is that most of the infections are caused by handling things. And when you come to handling things, there's nothing as good as a security tray in an airport for collecting everything that's going and then dispensing it to whoever might be picking it up.
Lovely. How do you get to be a travel expert, and how do you get people to pay you to travel, Eoghan? Tell me that before I let you go.
It's an interesting one that once you reach a certain level of credibility, you've regarded as having some sort of influence. People look for you to promote their product or to write about their product. They don't even want it promoted. They want an honest assessment of it. The interesting thing is that was a fairly select little breed up to a couple of decades ago. But the access to doing that is quite, to actually setting yourself up as somebody who travels a lot and writes about travel knowledgeably, the access has increased. I'm not sure the quality has increased, but it's very, very easy to set up your own sort of travel blog and whatever. The problem is the level of commentary has to be of a certain level before people taking you seriously. That's the big bridge. Once you've got over that, life is pretty good.
Great stuff. I might be joining you in the travel expert line soon enough. Oh, and thanks a million for talking to me.
See you at the airport. I'm flying to Beijing on Saturday. Okay.
With the hand sanitizer. See you.
With the hand sanitizer. They won't let me bring it on board anymore. Okay.
Bye. That's Eoghan Corry there of travelextra.ie. That's like a handy job, isn't it, to be a travel expert. Back to parking. The parking in the hospital is a shame, says this texter. My son was in oncology, and every morning I had to drive around for ages to find a space waiting for someone to pull out. See, that's not really fair when you have, nobody goes to the hospital for fun. Nobody goes to the hospital because it's a great place to be. Like, people go to the hospital because they're visiting sick people, they're collecting sick people, and you can't let everyone who decides they want to visit somebody in a ward, have a free pass, so to speak. But there must be some. If you have a certain level of illness or a certain, compromised in some particular way, they should be able to make some special arrangement for you instead of having people driving around for ages. Or what is a stressful time anyway? This texter says, Maria saw in the Journal last week, HSE awarded 800,000 contract to a counselling helpline service for post-abortion. This seems to be an exorbitant amount of money with such disarray in our hospitals. And Jean says, here you have a guest on talking about near full employment instead of questioning the quality of the job. 500,000 people are on government schemes. I agree with you wholeheartedly, Jean. I think those people on schemes and everything like that should be separate. We should be told who they are. It shouldn't be that they're off the live register. They should be a separate way of identifying them, because that's too much of a smart move as well, in my opinion. 083 333 975 for your texts. We have more for you in the second hour of Daysha Today, so keep it right here. News is